I'm Heidi Swierenga. I'm a conservator here at the Museum of Anthropology, and I'm the conservator working on the earthquake upgrade seismic mitigation project for the Great Hall. So I will be managing the move of all the totem poles. In working towards preservation, we're keeping things happy and safe. We're not modifying or bringing it back to a time when it was first created, or a look as new as it would have been. So restoration is really actually depends on where you are and what country you're in, but in Canada we understand it as is more invasive, something that more treatment protocols are required in order to spruce it up, which is really not what we do in preservation. The removal of the poles from the Great Hall is actually a very complicated exercise, as you might be able to imagine. So we're worried about many different things, and I say worry, but we're thinking about them and trying to mitigate against any damage that might happen. One of the most significant issues that we have to work with is the fact that many of the pole surfaces are compromised in some way. So we have flaking paint, and we also have soft surfaces. And when things have to get moved by large equipment, they have to be held somehow to that equipment. And as soon as you apply pressure, you're going to make an impact on the physical surface of that pole. So right now, the work that we do is really in mitigating against that. We've done a lot of work in terms of mapping the pole surfaces. So we've taken a picture of the entire pole, and we're indicating where there are soft spots, where there's flaking paint, where there are cracks that may be weak. And so all that information goes to the company who's actually going to be moving the pole. And we work together to create an individual move plan for each specific pole. And some of them will be really easy because they're quite, the wood is compact and strong, and the paint is not flaking. But some other poles are going to require supportive structures behind them that you tie into in order to bring the pole down safely. And then that structure will live with the pole as it goes into temporary storage in the gallery. The seismic mitigation work that we do in the museum extends far beyond the totem poles themselves in the Great Hall in this project. It's actually work that we've been doing for decades here. And we treat the collection basically by object types. So if you were to go into storage, you'd see a bunch of different solutions depending on if it was a ceramic, depending on if it was a mask, and where an object sits within the compacting storage unit itself. If you go into the galleries, a great place to look is in the Kerner Ceramics Gallery. And the Kerner Gallery was one of the last upgraded spaces in the museum before the Great Hall. And there, if you can imagine, it's a gallery space full of ceramics. And in an earthquake, those ceramics aren't going to fare very well. As we know, ceramics break pretty easily. And we had the collections in there sitting on plinths. And the plinths are these boxes that elevate the ceramic, and so it can look more nice in a presentation sense. But those ceramics weren't attached to the plinths in any way. And the plinths also weren't attached to the cases anyway. There was lots of objects that were fine on the back wall. But if you can imagine a major shakeup, all of those would topple over like bowling ball pins. So what we did is we provided or developed a program in which we created individual plexiglass supports that go in between the object and the plinth. The support is screwed to the plinth is screwed to the case, and the ceramics is earthquake waxed to the plexiglass. So in a seismic event, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay there. We can still remove them just with a certain trick and take it away, but they're much safer than they were before. In regards to the earthquake preparedness of collections and storage, after we moved into the storage area, we had everything nicely installed, and we came back and we did an assessment of how safe things were from an earthquake perspective. And at that point, we developed some earthquake bars so that things would stay onto shelves, 10 feet high. You don't want them falling down. We've also developed another restraint that will hold the drawers into place, because you can imagine what happens. All drawers come out. And then we also looked at our ceramics collection. And the ceramics had been installed in drawers and on shelves with what we call tissue paper donuts. And this is a very inexpensive and very fast way to install a collection. But we looked at it and we thought, well, we wonder if this is going to be safe in an earthquake. So what we did is we took that solution, as well as I think about 6 other solutions based on examples that we'd seen at different institutions. So we had our 30-cent an object tissue donut solution, all the way up to probably a $300 solution, which involved custom cutouts and hunks of ethafoam. And we mocked up a storage unit and we rolled it over to the earthquake table at the UBC engineering department and put it on their shake table. And they helped us, based on different earthquake models, understand how each of those systems would respond based on different earthquake models. And what we found was quite refreshing, and that is, if you only have 5 minutes and 30 cents, the tissue paper donuts are better than nothing. And we also learned that it's a waste of money on the $300 solution because it didn't actually work very well. And what we found is someplace in the middle was the sweet spot for expense and survival after an earthquake. So we learned quite a bit.